Both Ethereum and Bitcoin made a new all-time high last week. The one thing that's very interesting to see is that on Sunday, where Ethereum was making a new all-time high, BTC was already pulling back locally. In this video, I'm going to give you my perspective on what's most likely to come on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'm also going to have a look at one more altcoin that I'm keeping on my radar for even medium time frame to high time frame trading opportunities. What I will also do is review the plans that I had on Bitcoin, what was happening, why we ended up where we are now. I'm going to do the same for Ethereum and then build a plan for what's most likely to come next. If we look at these scribbles here on BTC, that was a plan that I shared last week with our members at Chart Champions. So the idea behind this right here was that BTC made a new all-time high, and if we ever look at all-time highs, there is three scenarios we can see. One is a clean break out of all-time highs. Then we have a clear sky, there's no resistance above, price is following along with potentially, or in the best case scenario, volume increasing, open interest increasing, positive delta increasing. Scenario number two is that we see a swing failure pattern. That means price is looking above the level, didn't maintain or can't maintain above. We get a clean close below, and that is considered a swing failure pattern. What we saw on BTC was more of a failed auction of all-time highs. Okay, that means price is trying to break out. We see some candle closes above the reference point, which was the previous all-time high. In the end, though, price was pulling back and did not maintain above the previous all-time high. So the background of BTC here was a failed auction of all-time highs. This can be considered a more actually weak pattern to see, because what you typically want to see upon taking the all-time high is clean follow-through. Okay, so this simply didn't happen here. It's not the end of the world. Any pullback obviously offers the best trading opportunities for us, because I'm not a breakout trader. There's no trade to be had here unless, or to the long side at least, unless we see a significant pullback. On that day, I was doing a stream over at Chart Champions, and I realized that we just had this failed auction up here. I was not very happy with these lows, so I formulated a plan. I wanted to see BTC make that lower high into the massive resistance that we had, being a daily, weekly MPOC, weekly level. It was also lining up with previous volume. Let's see if we are here. It is the previous range value area low, always a good level, previous range point of control. So that's how I came about this plan of looking for a short trade at around the 117,000 zone up until 118. I considered a massive resistance. But that is only a short trade I'm interested in, because I have another plan in mind on where to look for the next long trade. So just to show you, this was the plan that I shared here. It was live trading on the 20th of August. Okay, we were still trading here, wanted to see the rise to the upside, then the pullback into 108,000. So what I'm going to do next is analyze this level right here, give you my perspective on why I feel this is an important level. As that resistance obviously already played out, for now there's not going to be another good trade to be had, in my opinion, because we had this nice follow through to the downside. So I want to stay on the daily time frame for a second and analyze this area at around 108,000. However, we do have to realize that this is a rather big zone of confluence. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is a swing trade, not necessarily a scalp trade. What we can see is that from the start of May to start of July, we had this range form on BTC, some local pullbacks, local increases. It was more of a range, I would say. Then we had the clean break to the upside. We were forming another range up here. Or one of my favorite levels on actually all of our cryptocurrencies is always previous range volume. Okay, here we can see previous range value area high, previous range point of control. Why is that important? If we think about this breakout, price was forming a clean range up here. If we see a pullback to the downside, the market always wants a reference point where we can signal, or where the market can signal that we are seeing strength or clean weakness. A very important reference point is the previous range value area high down to the previous range point of control. Because if we look at BTC in terms of simple market structure on the higher time frames, this is still bullish market structure. We can see prices making highs, higher low, higher high, and this can still end up being a higher low. So at this point for me, although I was looking for short trades, which is obviously nice to just stay in a short trade for whatever is happening next, but it's not the most sensible idea to be very bearish on BTC where we are now. We have intact market structure. We are approaching a very clean and very good level of support. So the only thing I can do down here is look for a long trade. So the confluence that we have down here is a daily level, which is, yeah, a high time frame level is always a good level. I always like to pair it with volume though. So this is previous range value area high point of control. One thing is missing is always good price location. So I can simply look at a Fibonacci pull here, looking at the CC, and we can see right at the daily and this previous range point of control, we also have the CC lining up. So that is, context is in favor of this area. We have confluence in this area, which is nice. We also have good price location. So the next thing I need to see is my entry trigger. So I consider this as more of a zone, and what I would allow price to do is even reach the daily down here. It doesn't have to, obviously. That would be absolutely fine without invalidating this plan. My preferred scenario though is to see the CC hit, the daily hit, the point of control hit, then see a retest, and then I can take a long trade to the upside. So if I see a scenario like this, I am looking at two things next. One is the medium time frame candle closes. So that would mean a 4-hour time frame. I want to see the market hit that level, but then I want to see the 4-hour closes above the daily level of interest. Okay, so that's very important that the 4-hour time frame can reclaim or close above that level upon hitting that level. This is important. At the same time, I will check the 30-minute time frame to spot signs of strength. That means level is hit, 30-minute is making a new high, 30-minute is forming the higher low and taking the higher high. So I am pairing medium time frame to high time frame candle closes with a lower time frame market structure for me to give me the best entry trigger for this area. I'm actually going to place an alert now. This is what I'm looking at on BTC. In my opinion, this is the next great trading opportunity that we have. Where we are now, I'm staying patient, staying in my short trade, and simply wait for that level to be hit. If we front run that level and find support where we are now, it's not a problem whatsoever. I'm just missing this trade. For me as a trader, always best to miss a trade as opposed to taking a trade without the confluence being hit, as those front runs typically do not play out. So that's what I'm looking at on BTC for the next probably 1 or 2 days, as that level could be hit any time soon, to be honest with you. I'm going to stay in this short trade now, and I'm not going to manage this trade. For me, I am in a position of owning BTC spot, so this is more of a hedge trade. I'm very happy with being stopped out of this trade at break even because the stop loss is already moved. I'm just where we are now, not looking for another big short trade as we speak. So I do want to see more price action first. If we start to see bigger weakness, I can switch gears and look for the short trades. But for now, the only trade I'm looking at on BTC after that trade up here already played out is look for 108 down to $107,000 to be taken out, and then look for my next long trade. So with that being said, let's also have a look at a plan that I had on Ethereum. So this was last week or even the week prior. So on the 14th of August, I was having, to be honest with you, I was having difficulties finding a good trade on Ethereum. We had this massive run to the upside, no significant pullback. And this is what Ethereum liked to do, especially in the last couple of weeks or months. It was just one directional without a significant pullback. I mentioned this before in my other YouTube video where I said it is rather tricky to get in on a pullback on Ethereum. However, I found a good level here in this altcoin stream. It was a key level at 4,113 with a reference level being the previous series of lows, which did look very unfinished. So We can see how this played out on Ethereum. If we hide this for a second, look at this plan on Ethereum. Key level 4,113, reference level 4,153. We can see level taken, reference level retested, and then we indeed made the new all-time high on Ethereum. So this, in my opinion, was the best trade to be had. And now I want to analyze on Ethereum what was happening, where we are, and what we can look for next. So Ethereum, everyone saw it on the news, on X, whatever. Ethereum made a new all-time high. That is true. We fell short of the $5,000 level, and we can see on the weekly time frame already, this is the scenario that I mentioned on BTC. If we have a look at all-time highs, it can be a clean break, SFP, or failed auction. On BTC, we had the failed auction. On Ethereum, we had an SFP. We can see this here, weekly time frame, only a wick into that level. If we check daily time frame, 2 wicks into that level, but not a single close. Okay. We check the 4-hour time frame, so we can go down lower and lower, whatever we want. We can see even on the 4-hour time frame, there was not a single close on Ethereum. Now, does that mean we have to get super bearish on Ethereum? Let's actually see. The thing that's going to give you the clue on that is simple market structure. We can see low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, Ethereum is maintaining the market structures. Should I be too bearish now just because we've seen the SFP of all-time highs? In my opinion, no. However, when seeing this and reading this live in the time, that is a super acceptable short trade on Ethereum. That is leaving you in a position of being in a long trade from this local pullback and a short trade from the highs, which is the best scenario a trader can be in. Okay, long from the lows, short from the highs. So that is perfect. Okay, however, when I look at a medium time frame to high time frame plan, I have to keep in mind that we didn't change the context significantly. And being too aggressive on any short trades is not the best scenario or not the best thing to do yet. However, I'm going to have a look at the areas I am interested in next on Ethereum. So for this, I want to have a look at high time frame levels, but also NPOCs. I do want to pair it with volume and price location as always. So in my opinion, for myself at least, since this trade down here already played out so perfectly, I am less interested in taking a new trade where we are now. I can understand, I can see why we are finding support where we are. This is previous supply. If we see supply once, twice, 3 times broken, now we see the retest. This is a good level. The only thing I will do at 4,300, because there is still untested support, we do have the range point of control and the weekly NPOC, is look for an SFP on the 30-minute time frame and then take a scalp trade. This is the only thing I'd be interested in here on Ethereum. Look for a quick scalp trade if there is the 30-minute SFP. If not, I'm not going to take this trade, okay? But for me, seeing the price action that we had up here, I am just less interested in any too aggressive long trades at the moment on Ethereum. I want to see a bigger pullback, else just look for scalp trades because, yeah, for me, it's not worth it to look for a swing trade where we are now and aim for another new all-time high. Although I think it is very probable at some point, I just don't want to be too aggressive now because that, in my opinion, was the much better trade. So Ethereum, I'm going to place an alert for a quick scalp trade. Okay, but that's all I can do here. And put this into a folder so I'm aware of this. But as I said, just not a swing trade. So there's one thing I'm keeping an eye on, which in my opinion is a better area of interest. And that is going to be a daily naked point of control at around 3,885. Okay, whenever we have price action like this and we start to see weakness, my most important reference point is always a previous supply zone or a previous range volume. What I like about this NPOC here is that one, obviously it's lining up with this uptrend anchored view up, which hasn't been tested since end of June, middle to end of June. So that is a super interesting anchored view up. We can also see this NPOC. If we look at previous supply, we have supply once, twice, 3 times. So that's going to be a very good level, and something that always has to meet the criteria to be a good confluence level is price location. We can see this is lining up with the CC as well. So for me, the next big level of interest for a swing trade on Ethereum is going to be 3,885 into this anchored VWAP. This is where I'm interested in a good reaction to then take it higher on Ethereum. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at here. Let's just say I didn't see all of these SFPs and I am owning Ethereum, for example. I want to be hedged. So I can check if there's a good short trade to be had. And we can see we already had the acceptance into the value area high here. This is the previous all-time high range, I would say. We have a daily at around 4,800, the CC. So I would say the only good place I can see on Ethereum for a short trade would honestly be a 4-hour SFP into the daily or into the CC and then close below. That is where I would consider another hedge trade on Ethereum. This would only be though if I'm in a long trade or if I'm spot invested in Ethereum. So this would be more of a hedge trade, hedging some unrealized profits, whatever it is. Okay, so for me, this is the plan on Ethereum, looking for that as a swing trade, scalp trade, hedge trade. And then honestly, nothing can shock me on Ethereum because I have a plan for whatever is happening next. As promised, I wanted to have a look at one more altcoin, and that is Sui. So Sui, if you follow along on my altcoin weekly updates, I do these every week on the website, giving the best setups that you can find on these altcoins. For me, medium or high time frame, Sui looked really nice. We had a decent low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So I was looking for another higher low. I want to show you a very educational example here. On Sui, I was looking for a long trade into this, or I wanted to see at the time an SFP into a daily naked point of control with then a close above the reference point. We have seen a slight front run, and I wanted to take this long trade into a short trade up here. Okay, we saw this front run while BTC was hitting support, Ethereum hitting support, XRP, you name it, everything was hitting support. So we then only got the short trade entry triggered. In my opinion, this long trade down here is now less likely to play out because we have seen this front run, short trade played out. For me, the short trade target is a little bit lower. So I'm going to say I'm no longer that interested in this long trade. I will see my alert is still down here, what's happening down there, but I will definitely stay in the short trade that I mentioned in the altcoin stream last week. And my target on Sui is going to be this monthly and daily level at around 2.85, 2.78. Now, why is that? If we check the volume profiles, we can see, let's see this entire volume. We can see this is also lining up with the value area low. And for me, this is going to be a super interesting level, or actually very, very critical and important level to hold to maintain the higher time frame strength that we are seeing. Because here I do like the market structure, low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So if we move into that level, which is also the value area low, I am attempting a swing long trade based off the market structure. Context, perfect. Confluence, monthly, daily, price location, value area low, perfect. Confluence is lining up. Now, one more thing I need to see, obviously, is candle closes as my entry trigger, which I'm going to do in the higher time frames, such as the daily. If that is the case, as a trader, I have to make a decision. There is no win that can ever, or no profits can ever be made without a risk. Obviously, that trade has a risk of being stopped out. But with all the things lining up that I just mentioned, I am going to attempt this long trade on Sui because I like it, I accept the risk, and then aim for a new high to be made on the very high time frame. Obviously, taking profits in between, but that's going to be my next best level of interest for a swing trade on SUI. At the same time, I mean, I mentioned it before, but I do weekly altcoin streams, and these were my setups on Solana. If you don't believe it, you can check the altcoin streams that I've done, but I gave this long trade on Solana, this long trade on Solana, this long, this long, this long, this long. So since January 25, so for the entire year, I'm rolling on a 100% win rate on Solana for all of these long trades. All of these were shared in advance, so there is nothing I was just trading for myself. All the setups I gave to the champion members at chartchampions.com. So that's what I'm going to do. Thursday is going to be the next altcoin stream if you're interested in that. I do have interesting trades lined up on XRP, Pepe, which you can see up here, and LTC. So if you're interested, check that out, as these trades really speak for themselves. However, I did want to give you a good insight on how I'm building these plans, looking at Ethereum and SUI. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it makes sense. I hope that also makes it very clear and obvious what I'm looking at on BTC, Ethereum next. I'm now going to stay patient for my levels to be hit. I'm not going to force trades in between. Only if I see my alert go off, I will execute upon seeing a good entry criteria given. So that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you want any altcoins for me to cover next. Just let me know, and then I can see if I can just share my analysis somewhere on the socials, for example. So see you over there. Have a great rest of the day, and bye bye.